Hello, everyone. This is Michael Mirdad here. This is one of our Friday night Spiritual Insights with Michael Mirdad presentations. So thanks for joining us again. Today, we're going to talk about something that's just come to my mind. It's something I've talked about before, and we've got some videos on it here and there. The topic is mirroring. Mirroring. You'll hear people that, sort of want to act like they know something, and they'll blurt out things like, well, what is that mirroring for you? And I know you may have said that before, and people use these things like many spiritual axioms. People throw these things that they like. It's like they go to school or something and learn a new sentence and then have to go around and blurt it. And it's kind of childish in a way, because they don't really understand it. So it's like kids telling jokes that they heard but they didn't understand. you know um, what is that mirroring for you? That's just, first of all, if you come to somebody or somebody comes to you and they say, I'm hurting, my boss was so mean to me today, my partner doesn't understand me, and then you say things like, well, what is that mirroring for you? The only thing mirroring in that moment is an insensitive listener, and that's not helpful at all. You're not doing God's work by saying anything like that, so it's kind of ridiculous. That's what I mean by these people blurting things out. But there's a much better and much deeper way of looking at these things. So, in a nutshell, the law of mirroring does exist. It's not like you can say, well, it exists only when I'm in the mood for it to exist. It exists or it doesn't exist, and it does indeed exist. There's laws in this universe, laws of karma, let's say, laws of mirroring, laws of polarity, duality, depends on what realm we're talking about, heaven or earth, and in the universe, in the material universe, you have these kinds of laws that I'm describing. So mirroring is one of them. In one sense, the most profound version of mirroring would be God makes us in its mirror image, and then we now can reflect, like a mirror, reflect the light of God. So even when we come to the earth plane, the three-dimensional earth plane, our job is to mirror or shine that light. Now, in the earth plane, no matter how enlightened you become, you are never just pure light, because by definition and by all laws of the universe, if you're really just the pure light of God that we were created to be, but have forgotten that we are, if we're just that pure light, you would just shine, and it would be a light that's so refined and pure it wouldn't even be visible to the naked eye. So our light and God's light can't really shine perfectly in the universe, the material universe. So what it does is it shines down upon, let's call it plates or mirrors that we hold. And so we can hold it like reflectors, and we shine light. Now, if that light of God, theoretically or metaphorically, shines from the heavens up above and it shines down onto these plates, the light can kind of illuminate and light up a room, right? So when we have a nice fix on the light of God, the presence of God, it just kind of creates this warmth, this light in the room. And that's what we're meant to be doing in this world. Not so much I'm meant to be becoming my perfect light, because if you do, you disappear anyway into oneness with God. But here our job is to really just hold space, hold a reflector. I'm supposed to be reflecting, bringing, anchoring the light of God in the world. And we all have one of those reflectors. It's just that most of us, the reflector is all dirty and smudged and aged and beat up and wrinkled and disheveled. So there's not much light that reflects from it. That's a wounded person. That doesn't mean we're bad, it just means wounded. God would say, what is real healing? Cleaning the stuff off of that reflector, which is our old stuff being washed out, cleansed, healed, forgiven. And then light being allowed to now come out of that. When it comes out, the light comes out, we feel better. It's like, whoa, so it's like one of those movie scenes where somebody's gone and lifted the blinds, in a room, and after a dark, dingy, stormy kind of time, or even horror movies, when they have all that darkness going on in a house, when the new day comes and they open all the blinds, it's like, oh, and that's how it should be basically for us. That's what it's like when we clear our old self, and then bring the light through. I would love to tell you that happens. All you need to do is say abracadabra, snap your finger, and it's done. Really, it involves work in the sense that we have to be willing to look at the stuff in us that is on that mirror, blocking it from allowing light to shine. It's not like you can go, oh man, my mirror is all dirty and it's what everybody else has done to me. That's what we're saying when we blame people for our lives. I'm not saying people haven't done hurtful or selfish things. It's just that if they have or haven't done that, why is my mirror not shining? Because of what they did. Well, it's my mirror. So it's not theirs. They can't technically affect my mirror, nor can I affect theirs. What they can do is things to me. They can reflect their woundedness to me, like in hurtful statements. I can take it on. That means then I allowed a sediment onto my mirror. They didn't throw the sediment onto my mirror. They just sent it my way. Why was my mirror there to catch that sediment and let it affect the mirror? Why did I not clean the mirror the next day? We go for lifetimes, really lifetimes, carrying sediment, wounds, hurts, doubts, fears from other lifetimes, from people, and we don't have to. And in fact, we reincarnate to deal with them because we didn't do it last time. So there's so much more free will involved in all of this than people really want to realize or accept. That said, mirroring, that's like in the grand spiritual sense, that's what mirroring really looks like. We have the chance, the opportunity, the ability to hold that space, and shine that light, let it kind of glow off of us. That's in a perfect world. Now, in the three-dimensional realm, with the other thing kind of kept in the back of our mind, in the three-dimensional realm, we each have to understand that mirroring is not just somebody's annoying me and somebody says, well, what is that bringing up in you? What is it reflecting in you? Well, then, you say, gosh, my best friend, they're totally an addict and they're out of control and I don't want to be around them anymore. And then one of those not so brilliant friends, thinking they're brilliant, says, well, what are they mirroring? Maybe there's an inner addict in you. No, that's literal. So I need you to understand there is literal mirroring and metaphoric mirroring. Literal and symbolic. Literal is like a no-brainer. And that's why the people with no brains usually refer to that one. Sorry. But that's what they do. They throw out these because they don't think deeper. They don't understand that there's a deeper version of mirroring. You'll never really get the law of mirroring and understand it or be able to use it for your highest good if you don't understand the deeper parts of it. Okay, so let's get the literal out of the way. The literal is yes, when it applies. Don't assume it applies. When it does apply. That means, oh, I've got this sister and she's annoying because she's so impatient. And somebody says, are you also impatient? Oh my God, you're right, I am. That's literal. When it does apply. When the shoe fits, it's literal mirroring. But that's as deep as some people go. So it is helpful. We all must understand the law of mirroring if we want to grow spiritually. If you don't understand the law of mirroring, it's kind of like a required course to graduate and get a degree in spirituality or enlightenment. If you don't have the course covered called mirroring, then you're not graduating. I'll say that much. I mean, it's not as important, let's say, as, if you had to choose only one topic, forgiveness and mirroring, forgiveness is always the most important thing on earth. But mirroring is one of the pieces, the lower bricks of the pyramid, blocks of the pyramid that lead you up to that pinnacle of consciousness called God. And so mirroring is down here amongst the daily ones. Forgiveness, not everybody understands and not everybody believes they can do, but you can still practice mirroring, which is a reflection, no pun intended, of forgiveness. So literal mirroring, let's get that out of the way again. I need to take some time to look at how other people literally mirror me and how I literally mirror them. So you could have an impatient person come to you and, man, I don't like, you're so impatient. And you get all offended. Now, don't spit it back on them and say, I'm just mirroring you, which is another one of those ridiculous things that people will say. Well, what is it that's bringing up for you? It's your issue. It's not helping anybody. You think it's helping you because it takes the pressure off of you, but it doesn't help. It just induces more guilt and shame and limited consciousness. So if you're mirroring, try to be compassionate. If somebody says, man, you're so impatient, and you know they are, it's like there's a part of you that wants to go, me? Wow, look at you. It doesn't really help. I mean, I know you want to say it. It just doesn't really help. So watch for the times that you're literally mirroring for people and try to be kind of understanding. If you really get it, have a chuckle inside, like, wow, this person's calling me impatient. And they're like, 20 times more. You can have your own little chuckle, but just don't dwell on it because you're trying to relieve your own stuff, All right. Now, there's also they're mirroring us literally. So anybody, what I'm leading to is anybody that pushes buttons for you, they're mirroring literally. But they could also not be pushing buttons, but rather impressing you in some way. God, you're so artistic. Well, you could also literally be artistic. You might be repressed in that area, but it's still there. So people can literally mirror to us things we know and are, or things we don't know and are not yet. But it's because it's kind of repressed in us. It's, just not yet allowed to come forward. But still, it could be literal. All right? So you're looking at the world, and this is a huge spiritual lesson, by the way. I'm going to look at the world and realize that it reflects everything I see as part of me. I look around, everything I see. Oh, my house is totally shambles, and I'm a clutter freak. My God, I think I could teach workshops on cluttering your house. Like I'm like the master of clutter. What is that mirroring? Something symbolic, not literal. You might not look all cluttered. That would be literal. And if it's true you look cluttered, then it's literally mirroring that. But symbolic would be, this is a symbol of my insides. And wow, I really don't like what I see. But the opposite could be true in the sense of not clutter, but beauty. God, look at the nature. I'm so lucky to live in this. The colors in my house or the nature that I live in, it's beautiful. Wait a minute. If everything is a mirror, that mirrors something in me. So I really need to soak that in and give thanks for that. So that's kind of cool, you see. Positive mirroring is really, really cool. And the negative mirroring you think is not so cool, but it is because it tells us, teaches us something about ourselves. So I think that's pretty cool still. All right. Now, shifting gears to symbolic mirroring. That's when something is not literal, obviously. But that's where, we look at our lives and, someone says to you, like, for example, somebody could say to me, Michael, oh man, I really like you. You're a really good teacher. I really love you as a teacher. I wish I could be like that. I wish I could be. Well, they can't see good in me if it's not somewhere in them too. So, there's literally, they are also good teachers seeing it in me, and it's in them literally and hopefully to the surface. But sometimes it's a metaphor. So when we look at symbolic mirroring, it's like, Michael's a great teacher, good teacher, I like his teaching style or whatever it happens to be. That could be symbolic of all kinds of things. It could be you're also literally a good teacher, but it could also be, this is about, I'm reflecting your awakening. It could reflect, I'm mirroring to you, you're getting closer to God itself, spirit. Not because I'm saying that I'm wonderful. I'm saying that if you're perceiving good in me, it's mirroring something in you. There are going to be, like when we're doing these live feeds, there's going to be 1 in every 100 people that post things that get annoyed and they don't like what I'm saying. It could be their religious differences or their skepticism or their atheist or whatever it happens to be that they don't like. They're just not digging it for some reason. It doesn't matter. It's still reflecting something to them. They think I'm annoying. Well, maybe literally they're annoying. They think I'm X, Y, and Z. Maybe they're X, Y, and Z. But it could also be deeper. They could be annoyed because it brings up something in them deep inside that they don't want to feel. They might like it. these presentations, but it stirs their ego and it reacts and makes them go quickly, shut this down. I don't like this guy, or whatever else it might be that goes on in your life when you see these examples. So symbolic mirroring. Let me say it again. Literal mirroring first. Let's say you know somebody that drinks too much, and you say, I can't be around you, you drink too much. So literal mirroring would be, they could say, oh, well, maybe I'm mirroring something to you. Maybe you're an alcoholic. No, I'm not an alcoholic. I know I'm not an alcoholic. In fact, I don't drink alcohol much at all. Well, maybe you're a latent alcoholic. No, I don't really have any interest. You could say that I don't even like alcohol. I've never even had alcohol. They can't keep pushing the issue literally that you're an alcoholic and you just don't know it. That doesn't, it could be, if that's literal mirroring, then that would be the case. But sometimes it's not the case. Then it would be, why is this person irritating me? They drink too much. Why is it irritating? If it's not literal mirroring, what is it? Then it would be symbolic mirroring. What does it mean? Well, you would say to yourself, what does alcoholic type of people, what do they bring up inside of me? And you can practice that right now. If you've ever had an alcoholic or an impatient person or a whatever, fill in the blank, fine. Were you literally like that? Let's say sometimes you were, and then you call that literal mirroring. But let's for a moment try symbolic mirroring. Alcoholic, impatient, whatever it was. Think about, or whatever it is in case it's current. Think about it. What does that blank bring up in me? What do they mean to me? Symbolically, what do they symbolize? What do they symbolize? So you could say, well, alcoholics are impatient. So maybe the alcoholic isn't bringing up your inner alcoholic. Maybe it's bringing up patience, lessons in patience. Or if it's bringing up issues of patience, or they're irresponsible. What's it bringing up? I just don't like people that are irresponsible. That could be because I'm irresponsible, but it could also be more, other pieces of symbolism to that. It could be, I've been an oldest child and I had to take care of my sisters and brothers all the time. I had to be responsible. So now I resent people that are irresponsible because they're getting away with what I wish I could have had some time to get away with. See, all the deeper levels and so forth. You could say, I don't like whatever, soccer players. And it could be literal that you're a latent soccer player and, you resent yourself for it. I'm making up silly examples. I hate people that eat ice cream. Well, it could be that you are blatantly an ice cream eater, that you're a latent ice cream eater, or it could be symbolic. Why do I not like ice cream? People that eat ice cream or play soccer. Look at what it brings up when I think about it. Well, people that eat ice cream just look like they're so carefree. It's usually you don't usually see people going, oh, I'm happy to have some ice cream. Usually they're just like, wow, it's kind of a fun, childlike thing. So maybe them enjoying ice cream doesn't mirror literally for you, but maybe it brings up some wounds around, people that get to be more carefree than you. So I hope this is making sense. Again, literal mirroring, symbolic mirroring. Literal, you can really check that out first immediately. When my point is this, anytime anybody bothers you or very much attracts you, you can do tracking, as we call it in our courses and so forth. But when you do tracking, you can take the tracking route, which is to track down what this thing is bringing up. But mirroring helps you do tracking, because mirroring, you say to yourself, instead of just doing a tracking exercise, you can just cut to the chase and say, wait, let me try another route. If tracking is blocked, my subconscious is blocking the answers. Let me just play with this in terms of mirroring. I really feel attracted to somebody. Is it because I love artists because I'm an artist? That's literal mirroring, positive. I really love artists, but I have no artistic abilities. So they symbolize what? Love for beauty. Oh, that's me, totally. Now you know why you love artists. It's not literal sometimes. See? Then there's love, love of artist, literal, love of artist, symbolic. Now let's flip it. Resentment of artists, literal. Resentment of artists, symbolic. Resentment of artists, literal, could be, artists, starving artists, and, they're bringing up issues because, oh, yeah, I'm very much the same. I really like a carefree life, and I don't show up to things on time, and I don't make a good living. Literal. Negative feelings, resentments, or whatever towards artists. Symbolic would be, what do they bring up for me? God, they're just so irresponsible. They're just irresponsible, and I'm always on time. I'm always this and that. So they're not literally reflecting me, but it's bringing up symbolic stuff. It's like the artists are what, and you fill in the blank. Then you'll see what they're bringing up for you. Again, it's kind of like tracking, but tracking starts to detail, potentially, if you do it, a detailed tracking exercise, you would start to say, and what other times in my life did I have people treat me this way, that way? So you start pinning things down to events and patterns in your life. So it's like mirroring on steroids, okay, the tracking exercise. But mirroring is helps build the tracking, but it also could be done separately so that you can just use a random mirroring exercise to kind of fly in under the radar if the tracking is kind of stuck. Now, that's not to say that this is all about healing exercises. I'm asking everyone just to chill and take a look at life and understand everything is a mirror. Everything is a mirror. Everything is mirroring. The whole world, the whole universe is nothing but a mirror. Meaning, you think you're watching me speak to you right now. I think I'm watching or listening or presenting to you. This is what we think. But you're mirroring something in me, literal and symbolic. If I like doing presentations and I like you folks, you're mirroring something positive, either literally or negative, or literally or symbolically. If I don't like you folks, I resent having to do these presentations, then you're mirroring something negative, either literally or symbolically. You're watching me do the talk. I'm mirroring something for you. I am. All the universe is a hologram. It's a mirror hologram. It's reflecting back to us our thoughts. You will only see what you believe. Even though we say, I'll believe it when I see it. No, you'll see it when you believe it. You only see what you believe. And some people say, well, no, because there's war and I don't like war and I don't want to believe in war. But you do have war, and it's in here. We have conflict. Even war is a reflection of human conflict inside. Embattled politics, elections, it reflects people's stuff. We had a recent election that people talked about how it was almost divided, almost to the person, like 1%. It was just so beautiful in this humorous sense that it was 50-50. The candidates, in terms of the popular vote, like 50-50. Now, some people hate that, hearing that. Some people don't mind hearing that, whatever. But I think it's hilarious because it tells us something. People are still arguing about the election. Why? Because it's about our own inner conflict with male and female and right brain and left brain, right and left politics, and so on and so on. It's duality. It was just perfect. The universe is like, how could we most reflect to them that they are so constantly torn, dualistic lives and consciousness? Perfect. An election, that'll get them. But people don't sit and say, what is this reflecting to me? Wow. Instead, him and her and blame and this and that. As soon as you talk about the world as though it's there, you're technically demonstrating spiritual insanity because you're showing signs of what we would call schizophrenia, meaning not picking on anybody that's schizophrenic. I'm saying it's a sign of schizophrenia. You are seeing things that aren't there. But it is there. This is a real politician or a real election or a real sports event or a real economy. It's not. That's where we would differ, and where some people can't watch presentations of mine because I'm going to fall back on the truth, which is only God is true. Only God is capital T true. Everything else at best is lowercase t true, which we hope reflects the capital T. So we could say God is the capital T. Mankind at best could have a lowercase t reflecting some of the divine nature of God, making it into like a small capital T, if that makes sense. But when we get into facts and proving details of the world, you usually are slipping out of lowercase t down all the way to opinions. And that's all. Yeah, I have nothing. Just it's me blurting stuff out, and it's just opinions. And the facts of the world, what they think are facts, are really usually opinions. But when something reflects love, or it's trying to be more, it's trying to teach more about love, oneness, then you know you're rising from opinions to at least lowercase t. I have some truth leaking through. A Buddhist can have some truth leaking through. A Christian, a fundamental Christian. Michael Mirdad, you, your neighbor, we can all have some truth filter through. Our job is to learn to sort of raise the bar more and more of God's truth. And then it's not something we blurt, it's something we become. And the world is nothing but a mirror of how we're doing on that scale. 0, opinions, opinions, lowercase t, capital T. We're actually made in the image of the capital T. But we separated and became lowercase t. Souls trying to get by and figure things out. Then we dropped all the way as low as it can get, third dimensional world with opinions. And then what's worse is you start fighting, defending, offending with your opinions. And that looks insane to the spiritual realm. Like, what are they doing? Oh, they're arguing. About what? Opinions. What are those? Because there's no such thing in the truth of God. There's knowingness, just absolute clear knowingness. There's not my opinion, which could change tomorrow. So this world that we live in, it's just a mirror. And it shows us how we're doing inside. When I know who I am, the world starts to reflect that. It'll be possibly having a great audience if you're doing talks and so forth. It could be a really good speaker if you're watching talks. You see stuff that's contentious. You see shows or movies or talks, speakers. You watch, whatever like that. Listen to programs like that. Contentious. This isn't just the program. It's reflecting that's what you thrive on. There's something about you that digs that, and there you are. This is you watching yourself. And so the entire universe, the most distant, beautiful nebula, is a part of me. All I see is part of me. Everything reflects myself. If that's true, then even mean people, rude people, hurtful people, I'm not saying they literally reflect that you're that way, but they are sometimes symbolically acting that way to bring stuff up for us, lessons. So you may not be a hurtful, abusive person, but you might have one in your life. So Michael's must be wrong because I'm not like them. No. Symbolically, they're in your life. You're right, possibly they're not literally reflecting you. Symbolically, they are. And symbolically includes things like bringing up lessons that I don't overtly know about. Okay? So I pray this is making sense, and I'll come to a close in just a moment. But again, just imagine, we think we're living on a planet. We're like living on this planet, walking around doing our thing. When in fact, we're here, we're the center of the universe in a sense. And everything around us, the color of shirt, the beautiful cushy chair, this white, soft, furry thing, that lamp over there, that mirror over there, this wall, these are all reflecting things to me. And what are they reflecting? Do I like what it's reflecting? Awe-inspiring, really. What about people that are around you? Wow, they're awe-inspiring. Okay, cool. That means you're having a good mirror because you must be reflecting some good qualities. If you don't like anything around you, it's reflecting some not so good qualities. However, there's a little caveat or exception to the rule. It does happen that we try to make a sterile atmosphere around us saying, now that makes me feel better because if everything outside is perfect, then I feel better. No, that's a little bit more obsessive compulsive. So just because you have a nicely painted room doesn't confirm you're perfect or holy. And it doesn't mean that people that live in a little bit of disheveled stuff, that they're unholy. There's a lot of holy people, not all, a lot of holy people in different parts of the world, including India, that live in squalor. So we can't say that this applies 100% perfect because it's not always literal. It's symbolic. So even in parts of India, you would have somebody, living in squalor. They're reflecting squalor, troubles, challenge, disease, and that could be bringing something up, but it wouldn't be literal for them. It might be symbolic, some lessons. Maybe there's some karma. Maybe there's not. Maybe I'm here because I want to make a difference in this kind of a lifestyle. So you can't be just pinning opinions or judgments on, any one thing or thing and think it stands all the time. All right. So just keep this in mind. Everything around is a mirror. When you look at a beautiful star, twinkling, wow, that symbolizes light in me. Christmas trees in the winter, it symbolizes something for me. And when you have a Charlie Brown Christmas tree and it's all dead and whatever, that all the needles are falling off, if that were me, and we're all a little different, if that were me, I would think to myself, wow, is that symbolizing my need to be more compassionate? The tree dying and all that? Is it a call for me to be simpler by having it's not that I need to keep the tree literally, but it reminds me of the importance of the value of simplicity. Maybe that's what it mirrors symbolically. It could also mirror, if that's me, I'm not liking what it's reflecting to me and I'm going to make some changes. So think about it as you will, whatever the thing is. But look at your life, like when the program's over here in just a sec. Sit and contemplate your life. Look around you and realize we say, oh, I believe in oneness. Oh, I pray for oneness. Mirroring makes the oneness happen. If you can understand mirroring, it implements oneness. Because there's nothing outside. Everything's nothing but a mirror wrapped around me. And when I look around my world, I'm seeing mirrors of something related to me. And so that confirms my oneness with all things. So it's really quite beautiful and quite profound if you think about it. And it applies to negatives that I see in the mirror, positives that I see in the mirror. Literal or symbolic, it still ends up. Everything I see is part of me. So do your best to apply this. Be courageous. It's not always easy to look at things and think, what could that be mirroring? I don't like that person or that event, what it could be mirroring. Don't be afraid of it, because at the end of the story, and this is very important, the whole point of mirroring, besides the intrigue of it, the truth of it and all that, is that if mirroring exists as a law, which it does, here's where it ends. Mirroring reminds me that we're all connected. Mirroring is also telling me that everything outside is a reflection of the inside, which means if I don't like it, I can change it. Mirroring then tells me that I play a part. I'm a co-creator. I have an effect in my world, in my life, in our world and in my own world. Mirroring tells me I am a co-creator with God. See? Break all the mirrors, shatter them, they don't exist, and now you have things outside that have nothing to do with the inside, and you have a separate world. Everything's divided, separated out. That's not the real world. That's a world that is a hallucination, and that's the one everybody lives in. Tries to, in other words, that's the one they believe in and live in. But that's why their lives don't go well, because they don't understand connectedness. If you understand the connectedness of things, you would never start a war, because what would you be fighting? We need to take over that country. Who's that country? Is your right hand fighting with your left hand? It doesn't make any sense. Would you want your liver fighting with your kidneys? Would you want an organ starving out another organ? It doesn't make any sense. When we understand it's an ecosystem. And people on this planet have shifted from an eco system to an ego system. Just more or less a letter different. And that letter is symbolic of a choice we make. Just in one choice, I go from ecosystem to an ecosystem is like an echo system where things reflect myself. to ecosystem, ego, ecosystem, where nothing is connected and everybody is fighting for their part. And that's manifestation of separation. Okay? Thank you, guys.